session by iconic women homeopaths of Bharat. Today's topic is going to be the use of organon in day-to-day practice, and our esteemed speaker for today is Dr. Kalpavalli. Yes, so I think Dr. Kalpavalli has shared her PPT with us. She is a MD Homeopathy from Nasik University, Maharashtra, along with MSc Psychology from Annamalai University, Chennai, and BHMS from NTR University, Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh. She has been a super achiever, a gold medalist all throughout all years of BHMS. She has got the Best Teacher Award from HMAT in 2017 and the Vaidya Seva Ratna Award in 2022. Currently, she is working as a professor in JIMS Homeopathic Medical College and Hospital, and also as a research associate in drug proving in collaboration with CCRH, New Delhi. She has many publications to her credit, out of which I'll name few of them. She has written an article on the stages of psychological development in child, which was published in Telugu magazine Homeo Today in July 2011. She has also written an article on miasmatic approach in respiratory disorders in IJH, and also about miasmatic approach in GIT disorders in IJAH itself. There are many more articles which she has written and has to her credit, but without wasting much of your time, I think we should first get back to the subject, and I hand over the mic, or rather the speech, or we continue with Dr. Kalpavalli. Over to you, Dr. Kalpavalli. We are very happy to have you with us, and please start your presentation.
Talk about organon, because every day in our practice, whatever we have studied during our BHMS or maybe in the MD course, we have learned a lot in organon. Now, when it has come to the practice, many people have a doubt regarding how to repeat the doses. Like many senior people, they are well acquainted with their practice, so they can very well give the repetition of the dose. But for the beginners and to the very newcomers, it becomes very difficult to choose the potency, how much potency is to be chosen, what potency is to be given, how frequently we have to repeat the dose. So today I would just like to talk upon few things. Like one is case taking. That is a general thing. I am not focusing much on the case taking because everyone is well versed with their case taking. Then here today I'll be covering on examination of the case, in what ways we examine the case, not only in relates to the physical, mental, along with the appearance of the person. Then with the understanding for the remedy selection, this becomes the most important part, how we select the remedy and selection of the dose and the potency, for which we need to understand on the susceptibility of the individual. And I would like to conclude about all these things. So today, first thing is, like we all know, homeopathy is a simple system of medicine. Even though we have been practicing homeopathy for a much longer time, it is like a day-to-day task for the physician in dealing with the patients. I think I am not wrong in this, and every senior most people have to tell me, because every patient that comes to us is a new person. Even though we have a lot of previous experience of handling similar type of cases, but still what I feel is like maybe every case we have to think in a different way, and the way we approach, the way we understand, the way they complain, everything. So it's just day-to-day practice, and we need to check every day when the patient comes. So that's what I just feel, and it's a perfectly simple system of medicine, wherein if we fix ourselves to the principles that are given in the organon for our practice, it is the best way where we can give cure to the person. And as per Dr. Hanneman's instruction, we need to purely follow whatever the instructions that are given in our organon. So time offers only the greater opportunities for the examination of the results of applied principles. See why it is like examination for the results of applied principles. Many a times, by seeing a person, when the person himself is narrating or the person herself is narrating some symptoms, we will get to a conclusion of this could be the possible remedy for the person, and we will try to pose questions regarding that. So at times, maybe we are right in 90% of the cases. Sometimes, out of our enthusiasm, or at times, maybe our anxiety in learning the patients, we may miss certain things. So what he says is like when we go on observing with the examination of the patients, that is by prescribing, by observing the people, we will get to know the results by observing the persons after we have prescribed, and this we will get to know the way they presents the symptoms that are all. So that's why he says the time offers only the greater opportunities for examination of results of applied principles, the action of the natural laws, and the evolution knows not the meaning of fashion. It's like it is not like the trend that we follow. Maybe our experience would give us a proper group of remedies that might help, but many a times we have to think out of the box for our understanding or for the prescription. Then to the homeopath, however, there should be one criterion for their use, that is the symptom similarity. Whatever may be the condition, whatever may be the disease, what we come across, the main thing what we have to focus is the symptom similarity. In many cases, like in the group I have been seeing for a much longer time, everyone is posting lot of different cases that they have noticed, including those signs and symptoms what they have observed. Others also are sharing in the group. So everywhere, or to a homeopath, the base is the symptom similarity, and this is by applying the materia medica what we have read earlier to the symptoms of the person, that leads to the important point of cure in homeopathy. Now, the application starts with the art of observation. As I told you, case taking. Here, observation in the sense, Hahnemann directly says in the aphorism number 6, as we all have read, like he should be an unprejudiced observer, there should be like no mal-observations, there should not be like non-observations. So we must observe the case, observe the person in total, which includes mental, physical, particular data. We need to attend, gather information from all the other bystanders, which can help in individualizing the person, which also is the individualization that we do by our observation, by the way they narrate the patient. It becomes the backbone for the homeopathic selection of the remedy. At times, many a times, even temperaments, diathesis, constitution also are considered for selecting the remedy. Like many a times we select the remedy basing on the hot chili or hot patients, likewise also, because whatever may be in the group of the drugs that we get, those group of the drugs, to differentiate one from the other, we individualize, and then we use all these, like maybe eliminative process or maybe addition process that we use for the selection of the remedy. And finally, whatever that we take, we will individualize one from the other. Like as I told you, many similar cases would be of the same complaint, but we differentiate one from the other by this process of individualization. And each man belongs not to the common humanity but to the infinite himself. This is the statement given by Aurobindo. And therefore, every single individual is unique. The individuality goes by constitution. So to the homeopath, however, whatever may be, only one criterion, as I told you, it is symptom similarity. So the development or the individualization comes from this development of the vital energy, and that differs from one to the other, like how we react, how we respond, how we take the things. I can give you the small regular routine example. Like some people are sensitive to the things which we name them as idiosyncratic people. Some people, they react much in a different way than the others as per in the routine things what we observe. So this change or this individuality is because of your inner, what you have inherited from your parents and what you acquired from the surroundings. So all these play a major role for the individualization, and as we possess with a special personality, every one of us has a special psychophysical construction which is determined by our hereditary and also with the factors that we acquire. And human beings are susceptible to infection and contagion in varying degrees. As we differ from one to the other, how we react to our conditions, even the type of things or the type of diseases what we suffer or what we acquire also might be different. This we have commonly noticed. I would regularly take the example of COVID-19, where almost every family have observed a lot of change in the symptoms from person to person. Even though we are in the same family, we are together, but still we have noticed the difference in the signs and symptoms. That is because of the individuality that each person has, and these individualized symptoms of those persons, they become the characteristic, and these characteristic symptoms are much more helpful for the formation of totality. And this totality, as we know, we will use with the mental symptoms, with the physical symptoms, and the particular symptoms also. And apart from these symptoms, we also try to consider the disease per se and the disease states. As we read regarding the predisposing factors or our sensitivity to the things. So, disease per se is like the state before we develop any signs and symptoms. This is actually mentioned in Stuart Close. It is nothing more than an alteration in the state of the health of an individual. How the health of the person is deranged, how we are going to get the signs and symptoms, is your disease per se. And this disease per se is entirely dependent on your environmental factors apart from your uh, hereditary factors. So this becomes the most important, where this is caused by the dynamic action of external inimical forces upon the life principle of the living organism, known by the perceptible signs and symptoms. This we understand by those signs and symptoms, as it is very clearly told by Hahnemann in aphorism number 7. There is no other way we understand the disease except for the signs and symptoms. When if we have to understand how the disease is, we will have to consider aphorism number 30 to 32, where Hahnemann talks about the susceptibility, like what conditions make us prone to get the disease. These are these aphorisms from 30 to 32. They bear upon degree of intensity, upon the repetition of the dose, upon the susceptibility, things which must be known by the homeopathic physician in order that he may be a good prescriber. All these three: first is regarding the susceptibility, what make you susceptible for the disease or maybe for the action of the drug. Then we also have to understand what degree of the medicine to be given, how much amount of the medicine is to be given, and whether it is one dose or whether it is suitable to the case or not, we will get to know by these three aphorisms. Uh, if we clearly read this, then it is like, as I told you, the predisposition and susceptibility makes the disease. Now, to understand the contagion, or it is regarding the Kent, who have told that the susceptibility, which plays a major role for the maintenance of the health of the individual, also for the derangement of the health, that is the disease condition. He says, in the beginning of the disease, that is in the stage of contagion, there is a limit to influx. For if a man continue to receive the cause of the disease, he would receive enough to kill him, and it would run a continuous course until death. That is, see, if your body is taking in certain things, how much ever it is able to take, that much amount of the disease will enter into our body, and we will start reacting to that, and that continues. What he says is, if there is no barrier, if your vital force is able to take everything, then the inimical forces or the disease forces, they continue for much longer time, and it will cause ultimately to the death. But when your susceptibility, like when your intake of the disease is satisfied or it met to the level, then there is cessation of the cause, that is the disease may not enter further, and there itself it limits, and as it limits, it starts showing its action over the body, where it selects the particular organ which is susceptible to it, and these particular organs will show the disease signs and symptoms. That is what he names as ultimates. Finally, how it is representing out, like maybe a tumor, maybe a eruption, maybe a small mental illness, or whatever may be, these are all your ultimates. That is how your disease have come up. So Hahnemann states that we have more power over human beings. Like what he says is, when you compare with the drugs and with the medicines, diseases, medicines are more powerful, because as we all know that the medicines act unconditionally, whereas the natural diseases can occur only conditionally. So the disease causes existing as they do as immaterial substances flow into man. In spite of him, he can neither control nor resist them, but they make sick. This is the statement in regards to the disease, what we get. So when we start understanding with the disease and its process, we always might have read in the organon that try to find the cause behind. So to identify the cause behind, it could be either exciting cause, it could be either maintaining cause, it could be even the fundamental cause. Also, we have read in the development of chronic diseases, they say that some acute exacerbation can be because of the epidemic. Acute epidemics can cause the trigger of these latent miasms, and that the latent sora becomes active and starts producing the signs and symptoms. So the disease causes, and they exist because of the susceptibility to the natural diseases at a certain plane, and they start their signs and symptoms over the human beings. And we get abnormal signs and symptoms after we are susceptible to the disease. Unless we are not susceptible to the disease, we don't produce any signs and symptoms. So because of this varying degrees of susceptibility, some are protected from the disease cause and some are made sick. So in understanding like what extent that we suffer with, as I took the example of COVID-19 earlier, here also we can apply the same. We have seen some people directly landing with the structural derangement in the lungs and all, and we have seen some people just passed with only minor signs and symptoms, the same family members with some loss of smell, but the others, one or the other family member might have landed up into a critical condition where he has to be shifted to the critical care and all. So these are all because of the varying degrees of the susceptibility, as we all know, and we must have to understand how much is that susceptibility, but it is little difficult to assess as how much difficulty we are going to face because of the disease what we acquired. But still, Hahnemann says that if you understand with the past history of the person, like what are all the diseases that the person have suffered, whether the present condition would be the sequel of the past disease, or it is because of the suppression that has happened in the past conditions, or whether it is the continuation of the past disease, or the treatments that were taken earlier might have reduced the intensity of the signs and symptoms. So likewise, we need to understand this. Kent also says in understanding the sick personality, in the chapter of the sick, he says how to understand and how to know whether the state is the advanced one or it is the recovered one or it is the new form of the older disease. Everything we must have to understand. This is because what I have seen in my practice is many people in some conditions where they might have gone to all the other available physicians, and finally they come up with lot of reports, lot of treatment that they have taken, and they say that we have chosen homeopathy as the ultimate choice. I think so many of you people would have experienced the same. So in such conditions, we must not only understand what was the effect of the treatments that the person have taken, as you all know, but we must also have to assess the susceptibility, because a person who have been using medicines for a much longer time, he is under the influence of these medicines. So the susceptibility of the person to those diseases and in general the susceptibility of the individual would have gone little lower because of these action of the medicines for over a period of time. And also it says in the various factors that are influencing the susceptibility, Stuart Close has mentioned a lot of things. The persons who are drug addicts, they are all supposed to have low susceptibility because the body was under the continuous usage of the medicines and all. So this state of the disease, as Hahnemann mentioned, the deranged vital force is usually divided into acute and chronic conditions. Acute, which are like recent origin, they recover automatically or may require some help, but finally it either recovers completely or, as we know, into the death of the person. Chronic, if not treated properly, if not addressed, they are for over a period of time. There could be even organic damage, and there could be even suppression because of overusage of the medicines. Now, when it goes to the after we understand with the disease, we need to understand what best we can do. So the natural disease plus the similar medicine leads to the cure. This is what homeopathy does. Then Hahnemann states that we have more power. See, our drugs are more powerful compared to the diseases. So one thing is we must have to understand the susceptibility. Now to have a change, to understand in cure, we have the advantage of changing the potency, whether we repeat the same potency, whether we enhance the dose, whether we go with the other remedies, everything is under our control, which can help the suffering sick man or the suffering individual who has varying susceptibilities. So cure can be achieved by following the principles of homeopathy, and how much amount of the medicine that is to be given every time is the main criteria. Uh, this is because initially the days when I have started my practice, to be frank, I have learned homeopathy by observing many of my professors prescribing. Then I used to think that, oh, only this much, no, so I can give it. I can give any amount of the medicine. I can give 200 potency in so and so doses. Likewise, I thought when in the initial days of my practice, it was like to one person for his eczema. This is the lesson what I have learned. To be frank, so that it was a case of eczema. He is actually what you call a security guard in front of the hotel, and because of the shoes that he wears, he developed eczema over the ankle on the anterior side. So it is just the place where there is rubbing of the shoe, and that aggravated the eczema. So after observing the eczema, there was a thick crust formation with oozing of thick sticky discharges, watery kind of, with thick scab over the eczema. Then I have come to a conclusion that the person is meserium, that the person's condition was looking like meserium, and I prescribed him meserium 200, and I actually gave him in a 1 gram bottle. That was the mistake which I did. I asked him that he have to take the medicine for 3 days, 1 dose a day. So what the guy did was, like, he was almost 35-year-old man. What he did is like he took almost 6 doses of meserium 200 on one single day, and that he continued for 3 days. I told him to take 6 pills 3 times a day. Sorry, 1 time a day for 3 days. He understood that he have to take 6 times for 3 days, and then on third day he reported to my clinic, my chamber, and upon seeing his, there was severe aggravation that is caused because of the meserium which he have taken. It was almost like there is swelling of the leg from the inguinal region to the foot. Inguinal glands also have swollen. The skin has become so much oozing pus that the skin upon touch, it started peeling off. So I was a little scared. I was very new to my profession, and I was very scared after seeing that. And I immediately called one of my professor. Sir, this is the condition. This is how the person have taken. And the person have told me the way he have taken. And I just called my sir and I told that, sir, this is the condition. I don't know what to do. I'm a little worried about because that was a stage where it was like very difficult to see. I don't have the picture to share it with you right now because that happened 17 years back. So then my sir told it is just because of the unfrequent repetition of the medicine. There was an unnecessary repetition of the medicine. It is entirely the medicinal aggravation. You ask him to take placebo every 2 to 3 hours, and then ask him to come back after 2 days. And to my astonishment, I actually prescribed him the same way. I gave SL and asked him to repeat once in 2 to 3 hours. Then, to my astonishment, on the third day when he returned back, his entire leg has become absolutely normal. The skin, whatever pus oozing was, that also have gone. Even that eczema patch which was there on his ankle on the anterior side also has disappeared completely, and the skin started restoring back. So that was the learning which I have learned. That was in my initial days of practice, very new. That I maybe that is within 10 days after I started my practice, I guess. So that made me understand that if you give too much of medicine to the person, and the person would unnecessarily repeat the medicine, and also regarding the repetition, which I learned that infrequent repetitions or unnecessary repetitions also had lot of aggravations that are coming up. So this is all learning what I have learned. So enough medicine must be given here. Now I did not understand what enough medicine is to be given to the person. I thought it should be, it is one dose that is enough for the person. But when he has infrequently repeated, initially I have a doubt like how much of the medicine is to be given, whether I should give one dose and then wait and watch, or whether I should give some extra medicine and ask him to repeat whenever it is required. So I was in a little dilemma after that particular incident, like what to do. So as it is told, enough medicine must be given. See, we don't know what is the minimum dose that is required for the person. Like as Kent says, you must give the minimum dose, and that minimum dose is the dose which triggers the person, right? This we will get to know by understanding the disease condition, the susceptibility of the individual, by understanding with all the presentation of the symptoms, the seat of the disease, the base of the disease, everything we will understand what we will get to know by our experience. So enough medicine must be given to establish order, and that is almost instantaneously. In acute conditions, we observe the change within few hours. In chronic conditions, it might take some days. But once the change starts, better don't repeat the medicine. This is what I understood, and this is what it is given. So when the symptoms that are indicated change, like when we have prescribed a particular medicine, and it is like when the symptoms come to a standstill, or when the medicine has no longer impact, then we need to repeat the medicine. At times, if it is not similar, and if it requires any change, then it doesn't act homeopathically, but it may act in different way, which it may not be homeopathicity. As you all know, what is homeopathicity? So your medicine, what you have selected, when it is not acting, it is not acting homeopathically, and in some other way, it will start producing its action, where adverse reactions can come up. Then just anything which is more than required is always poisonous. Likewise, the same medicine here, whatever is given to the person unnecessarily, that becomes dangerous, and then the medicine will have its abnormal effects upon the person. And the cure we will understand by the general overall betterness of the person in physical generals, in the mental generals also. And susceptibility implies and includes affinity, attraction, desire, hunger, need. All these exist and express themselves normally as states in conditions of every living being, but in morbid and in the disease conditions, they are little perverted, which we understand by the abnormal signs and symptoms. So we will understand that the cause is disease, and we are suffering from the particular disease. And in health, we live and act and resist without knowing it, but in disease, we suffer and we feel it conscious, and many a times even unconscious exaggeration also we understand. Then deficit reaction or diminished susceptibility may exist in a case, appear during the treatment, and constitute a condition requiring the special attention. So when a person is not reacting, or when a person is not showing the appropriate change or appropriate behavior, then we must have to consider the case again. And this is especially true with the treatment of chronic diseases. When it comes to the repetition of the dose, we must have to follow the susceptibility, the seat of the disease, the base of the disease. And here, the more the similar remedy, the more and clearly the positively symptoms of the patient take on, the peculiar and characteristic form of the remedy, the greater the susceptibility of that remedy, the higher the potency is required. So this is the common thing what we understand. The higher the susceptibility, the higher potency is required. Many a times in cases where there are pathological or organic changes, or there are no characteristic symptoms that are available, we need to go with the lower potencies, because that directly shows that the vital force is not in a position to produce its characteristic symptoms. So better we go with the low potencies in those cases. When the symptoms are not clearly developed, or there is an absence or scarcity of the characteristic features, we need to go with the lower potencies. The finer, more peculiar and more characteristic symptoms of the remedy appear in a case, the higher the degree of susceptibility and the higher the potency. So as we get with the peculiar signs and symptoms, we will get with the more characteristic symptoms. Then the terminal conditions or the ill patients, we better resort to the crude drug or with the increased dose of the medicine slowly. Like Kent himself says that we need to just see as the person's reaction starts, we will have to enhance with the potency because the person started reacting. Then the reasonably sure of the remedy, give the tincture or a lower trituration, first in moderate, then in increasing doses until the dose is found which the person reacts, even if it be the maximum dose as set down in the books. The maximum dose may be the minimum dose necessary to bring the reaction. Here, the maximum dose, there is nothing like, we feel that the more the potency is the maximum dose, the lesser the potency is the minimum dose. But that usually doesn't happen. Here, as we know, the minimum dose is the dose that is required to produce a desirable change in the person. Even 10 m also would be the minimum dose for the person according to the complaints that he develops. Likewise, we can select all the potencies. The seat, character, and intensity of the disease has some bearing upon the question of the dose. Certain malignant and rapidly fatal diseases like cholera may require material doses or lower potencies. After reaction has been established, the other remedies corresponding to the symptoms of the later stages of the disease come into view. The higher potencies are required. Next is with the repetition of the dose. The duration of the action of the remedy which acts varies. This depends again when we start with the proving. We will understand how much is the action of the particular drug. So it again depends upon the drug itself and the severity of the disease. So in a disease of such violence or rapid tendency towards the death, action of the indicated remedy might be exhausted in few minutes. Then another dose may be required at that time. But in slow progressing diseases like tuberculosis, we can go with a single dose, or we can go with slow enhancing of the doses. The action of the dose of a curative remedy might continue for 2 to 3 months. Between these two extremes are all the degrees of variation. So here, repetition of the dose is again based upon the seat of the disease and the base of the disease. One important point that Hahnemann mentions, that in aphorism 245, it's a general rule: perceptible and continued progress of the improvement in an acute or chronic disease is a condition which long as it lasts, invariably counterindicates the repetition of any medicine. So as long as the improvement is seen, better not to repeat the dose. And every new dose of medicine would disturb the process of recovery. This we all know, and we will get to know with the signs of improvement by producing new symptoms, by the disappearance of the old symptoms, by the disappearance of the old existing symptoms. At times, the old forgotten symptoms might come back. That also is a sign of improvement. There will be increase in the signs and symptoms. That is what we name as homeopathic aggravation. There will be amelioration of the symptoms, complete relief of the symptoms, or change in the direction of the symptoms. That is, the old symptoms might come back. These are the basic signs of improvement. When we have selected the remedy, there could be even a chance of suppression, and the various forms of suppression at the mind and the body level. We must be aware of what kind of suppression, and accordingly we have to plan the treatment. If there is any suppression, as we know, suppression could be because of the natural or even artificial suppression. Finally, I would just like to come to a conclusion of all the things. That is a conclusion of the varying susceptibilities. In a given case, we have to practically apply all the medicine as per the demand of the person, not because of the intention of the physician that he is using only centesimal, he is using only millisimal. Not in that regard. We can go with a variety of wide range of the potencies that are available for us. This entirely depends upon the individualization that we get and understanding the susceptibility of the individual. Then, according to Dudgeon, life may be said to consist of the phenomena resulting from the action of certain powers of stimuli upon a certain susceptibility, the balance of which constitutes the health, the loss of which causes the disease. So when the balance in the body is lost, as long as it is maintained, your health is maintained. When the balance is lost, we automatically land into the disease. And we must have to clearly understand where we lost the balance. That's how you have to deal with the cause of the disease. And homeopathic posology in many a way is directly dependent upon the susceptibility. Unless one understands the susceptibility, the choice of the remedy may be correct, but the choice of the repetition or the so-called posology might differ and will surely differ, resulting in the failure. So without susceptibility, all our efforts are in vain, according to the Stuart laws. Then no one knows why we succeed in one case and why we fail in another. We can't say that the system doesn't work. It is our failure, or it may be our difficulty to understand the condition properly. So what we need is a clean cut scientific work capable of being rationally explained and verified, results attained by the intelligent application of a definite principle, and a perfected technique is sharply delimited in the sharply delimited field. Homeopathy is a therapeutic method concerned primarily only with the morbid process in the living organism, whatever may be the cause, irrespective of the cause, which are represented in the form of the signs and symptoms. We are considering only the signs and symptoms. So we select the medicine only on the signs and symptoms. And this is end of my presentation. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Kalpawali, for the wonderful presentation.